How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. If you're a new viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you like what you see in this video, definitely consider subscribing and checking out some of the other automotive related content on my channel. And if you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, because I genuinely appreciate it. Today's video is going to consist of me doing an unboxing here of this new little toy I got from my garage shop. And for the longest time I've wanted to get my own tool chest, but unfortunately a lot of them are pretty expensive until I became familiar with Harbor Freight Tools. And Harbor Freight Tools is a God-given store for hobbyists like me who like to have tools and do things on the side but don't want to, empty their entire wallets for their tools and whatnot. So this is a really awesome little tool chest slash tool cart that I got here from Harbor Freight Tools. It is their 5-drawer industrial tool cart. Has a capacity of 8,100 cubic inches. It's got 4 casters on the bottom, and it's got a really cool opening lid on the top. And so what I thought I'd do in today's video is go ahead and unbox this baby, show you guys what you get in this, assemble it, and then kind of give my first impressions of, what I think of it. If you're interested in getting one of these things, normally they go for $199.99 or $200, but as some of you who know Harbor Freight well, they have coupons out all the time, so if you don't get their coupons in the mail, definitely sign up to get those, because you get some really good deals. I missed the parking lot sale back in, I think it was March, where they had these for $150. It was a killer deal. But I had a coupon to get this for $170 without tax or anything. So this was great, $170. Comes in 3 different colors. You get black, you can get black, blue, or the iconic red. For me, like I said, I've always wanted a tool chest and a red tool chest, because it's kind of one of those things you always see in a garage workshop is a big red tool chest just filled to the brim with tools. So let's go ahead and start unboxing this and get right into it. So upon taking the top lid off, you'll notice here there's some styrofoam for protection, which is always nice because you don't want to get a damaged toolbox. That would just be horrible. But from the size of the box, you can obviously tell it needs a little bit of assembly, but pretty much the top half of the toolbox comes as one unit, and then you just need to assemble the bottom there, and then with the legs and the casters. Alright, once you take off all the plastic covering and foam on the top, you can go ahead and use the set of keys that are supplied with this. Is really nice. It's a set of 4 keys that you can use to lock and unlock this guy. But then once you unlock it, you can go and pop the lid open, but just be cautioned that the actuators are not bolted to it yet, so it won't just hold itself, it'll flop all the way back. But the directions are in here, as well as the actuators for holding this guy open. Let's go ahead and pop those directions open and assemble this guy. So upon opening the instruction manual here, it looks like we're going to go ahead and assemble the bottom tray here with the casters. Noted that 2 of the casters are actually swiveling and 2 of them are just fixed. So then once you assemble the bottom tray, then you can put the legs on and then put the supporting cross members, and then you kind of like slide the top chest over top, and it sits in this little bracket here formed by these cross members. And then you can go ahead and assemble all of the smaller things like the handles and struts and everything. Alright, so this is the toolbox, completely unboxed and unwrapped from all its protective packaging. So we got the main tool chest here, the 2 or 4 main legs there, and these are like the supporting brackets that go in between those. The push handle, that's the bottom tray. And then one thing, just a note here, is they actually store some of the stuff like the handle and then that side tray too inside the tool chest itself when they package it together to be boxed up. So for a moment there I thought I was missing some things, especially the casters, and then I was like, where's all the hardware? But that will just be in the bottommost drawer in this little other cardboard box. So now what I'm going to do is, they say, like I said, you're going to assemble the bottom tray first, put the casters on, and then put all the legs on that and start going from there. Alright, got all 4 casters mounted to the bottom tray here. Now the next step is to assemble the upright supporting arms that actually hold onto the top tool chest there. So I'm going to flip this over and then bolt those guys in. Alrighty, so I got the 4 upright supporting legs or posts or whatever you want to call it attached. Just wanted to point out here, the only so far, I mean, you know, you're always kind of skeptical of Harbor Freight tools with some of the nuances of just how they're put together, and so far it's been pretty good. I just did find one though that's slightly annoying when trying to assemble this, is the bolts here. Let me refocus the camera. The bolts here have a little bit too much thread on them. They're too long. You really don't need that much thread for these bolts. And when you know, these stick all the way through and you get these 2 that are meeting here at like this 90, the gap here when they're all the way pushed through is so tight you can't get a wrench, or at least a, you know, a ratcheting wrench like this on and off, or, you know, it's hard to use a socket with like a drill or anything, so you kind of have to go with this end of your monkey wrench here, which is kind of annoying. It makes it a little bit slower, but still, that's just one thing to be aware of, is the gap between here. I got my wrench stuck a few times. Sometimes you can, you know, jimmy it in and out, but sometimes it gets a little stuck. But so the next part is got to put all the cross braces that go, you know, this way and this way. And those are important because I did notice if you tighten the bolts down there a little bit too much on these uprights, they start, you know, pulling in a little bit, just because of the, you know, the force from, you know, tightening it. So you want to make sure you get all your cross pieces bolted up first, and then you can snug everything down once those are all bolted up, and so it stays square. Okay, one other thing that I just realized after I finished recording that last clip was there is a difference between, you know, being right side up and upside down for these. I just made an assumption thinking that obviously they're all the same length, but thinking that this you know, these bolt holes or these oval cutouts in the middle here were just exactly in the middle of the piece, but indeed that's not the case. There is, you know, a right way to put them and a wrong way. So you can see I just fixed that one, but you can see the height of this one, and then you can see how much lower that one is. I'll go over here for a better comparison, but it's not a big deal. Just gotta flip them upside down once they're there, but you can see there's definitely a height difference. So make sure you keep note of that when you're putting these uprights in. I should also note that the directions do not mention that there's any sort of right way and wrong way to put those upright posts in. So far the directions, I mean, they provide, I showed them earlier, they provide very basic pictures, but the step-by-step is, there's like 12 steps on here total, and they're very basic. They're not too in-depth. The one thing I also don't like about the directions is that they didn't label which bolts were which. There's 2 packages of bolts and nuts, and one of them has washers and one of them has lock nuts. So I kind of just had to guess and look at pictures. So directions haven't been too helpful, but with some intuition you can pretty much figure it out for yourself. Okay, so after further investigation, actually, it turns out that the 2 that I thought were wrong were actually the right orientation. And it's kind of just frustrating me because these directions really are proving to suck a lot. There's no extra details or explanation of like, oh, consider the fact that, you know, the hole on these posts is not in the exact middle, and the shorter side should be, you know, on the ground end, and then, you know, the longer side should be where the toolbox sits. So it's a little frustrating, but that's why I'm trying to make this video for future people like that. And they also don't tell you what orientation to put these cross members at. So I also had to kind of do some consultation with other people's reviews or assembly directions on forums to figure out how to put these together. So first step now is to take all these stupid things off and put them all on the right way. Another quick thing I wanted to mention, since the directions do such a poor job of explaining this, is both of the bolts that you get with the box here, they're the same diameter, same thread pattern, same head and everything with this square here. It's a rounded head with this square. I don't know what the official name is. But the only difference between the 2 bags of bolts is that, if I can hold them right here, is that one is slightly longer than the other. So what I'm going to do is, I had just talked about how the threads stuck out too far down here. So what I'm actually doing is I'm going to go ahead and just use the shorter ones for now, because they actually provide a lot more clearance, unlike the ones over there where it's a much more tight fit. So I'm going to use the shorter ones, and then if it turns out that that was wrong, I'm going to have to go back, but hopefully that fixes it. It makes it a little bit more smooth here. Alright, so I just got all the posts flipped back around. So now, to be clear, the slots for the cross members are lower to the ground than they are to the top of the post. There's more room there, which I guess makes sense for the box to sit up on the top of those posts. And then I went ahead and went with the smaller bolts that come in the packet with the lock nuts and washers. They fit a lot better with each other here. There's more room. Can actually fit a wrench on those nuts now. So hopefully that works okay, and I don't need those shorter nuts for anywhere else. But we're just gonna roll with it for now. So the next step is to bolt up the cross members there, and then that side tray. Okay, so another key point here when you're assembling this that the directions fail very hardly at describing is how the correct orientation for these cross members. And I had to consult a different video online actually, but the correct way to do it is you actually want to install the shorter ones first. And they're going to go with the short lip. They're going to go on the inside. So they're mounting to the inside, and then the short lip will be facing up. And so you want to do those first, this side and this side. And this side, or whatever side you choose to put this little tray on, will need to mount with the same bolts that you use to mount that cross member there. So you got to do that at kind of like the same time. And then you want to go ahead and do the longer cross member, because this one actually rests on top of the shorter cross member, and then you can go ahead and bolt that in. Same thing, bolts onto the inside of this L shape here for the vertical support, and then these little tabs face up. And like I said, this piece rests on top of this guy. So, and as far as the bolts go, as far as being shorter or longer, I think you're gonna have a tough time either way, because you know all these bolts are pretty much used for, you know, this section here. So because of the way, you know, you got to put bolt here, all the way up and down, you're just going to run into that problem eventually. So hopefully using all those short ones on the bottom isn't going to kill me later, but that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm going to finish doing up the cross member here, bolt that up, and then I'll move on to the next step. And one last tidbit before I actually get going that I should mention is you will want to help yourself here by only hand tightening all the bolts first. Then you can go back in with your socket or wrench and tighten everything down fully. Everything is so dependent on, you know, laying on top of each other, and all the orientations are dependent on, you know, if one thing can move or slide. So once you get all the pieces locked in with each other, then you can go back and tighten everything with your wrench. Once you get all this squared away, you can go ahead and move on to actually mounting this tool chest. The directions call for 2 people or maybe 1 person to lift this up if you're like The Rock and you can lift heavy things like that with ease. But I actually found a video online of an older guy by himself assembling this, and what he did was flipped the tool chest upside down, so the main part upside down, and then kind of slid the frame structure over top of it, and then tipped it back over to its right side up slowly. And since I got this carpet here that'll protect it from getting scratched, I think I'm going to go ahead and try that because I don't have anybody else to help me at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a whirl and try and wrap this thing up here. Okay, so I was successfully able to get this thing not mounted with the bolts, but just sitting there by flipping it over. So I'll just explain to you what I did. So basically, I took the tool chest by itself, the top section here, I mean the main tool chest part, and then flipped it upside down on the carpet. Didn't scratch it, so that was good. And then I basically slid, as you saw with the time lapse, I slid the frame over that. Because the tool chest slightly relies on gravity for these holes to line up, you can't really put in these bolts. I mean, you can, but you really got to force them. I was able to get 3 in, but then I realized that wasn't what the guy did in the video. What he actually did was he just, you know, slid this guy on, slid the structure on, and then relied on these tabs here, those tabs on those cross members, well, to, you know, partially hold it in place for the time being, and then he slowly tipped it back up without being bolted in, very slowly, very carefully. I was able to do it myself, no problem. And now from this point you can go ahead and put all those top bolts in up here and secure this guy down. And there's also 4 little plates that kind of fill this gap here. These guys, those will go in between the frame and then the tool chest. Okay everyone, so the painstaking process of assembling this thing is finally complete. I mean, I love the toolbox itself, but just the act of putting it together and some ways how it's built or assembled is annoying. First off, the hardware that they give you 2 sets of different size bolts. Same thread pattern, as I said, same type of nut. Well, you had lock nuts and then these flange nuts. But I have leftover hardware, so it wasn't very clear in the instructions on which hardware goes where, and how many you should have left over if you have any left over, because I know sometimes they give you extras. But in general, the directions sucked. They were okay at just giving you a general idea, but diagrams didn't help any detail. I definitely either consult this video if you find it before buying it and trying to assemble it, or consult something else on the internet. So assembly, other than that, Mismatching different size things and just getting it all oriented right. Flipping it upside down and assembling it with one person worked out pretty well for me. The only thing that sucked with that was, and I have no idea if it would be the same if you did it like how they describe it in the manual by sliding it over the top, but all the weight, I mean, so the ideally, this cross member is supposed to help support some of the weight, but because it's not perfectly, you know, scaled here, there's a little bit of a gap. The weight isn't really on this cross member. The weight of the tool chest, all the tool chest is on these 16 bolts at the top. And so trying to thread these guys in was pretty annoying because you have this little, there's a little almost like a bent washer. It kind of fills the gap between the column and the tool chest. So trying to line up the hole between the column, that shim almost, and then the tool chest was really annoying because all the weight of the tool chest wanted to, you know, make these bolts go sideways. But once I got it in there, I basically kind of had to thread these in almost, and then I just kind of used the nuts to pull them in. Once I did that, it was pretty easy going from there, and it wasn't too bad. The lid assembled really nicely. These struts work really well. You can see it comes down. It likes to pop up a little bit and you kind of just push it back down, but then the struts are so, since they're so new and, you know, filled, it'll literally pop the tool chest lid up right away. So in general, I really love the tool chest. I mean, I love the size of it. I love how many drawers and how much storage space you get, especially with this extra little cubby down at the bottom. And I love this lid design, and I plan on, a lot of people modify these or add little, you know, ways to attach more tools. And I want to find a way to attach some tools on the lid here and modify it in a way maybe that it makes the organization a lot better with all the tools I have. And now it gives me an excuse to buy some more tools to fill this guy. But I love the tool chest in general. The assembly of it just sucks. So the directions suck, as I said, and some of the parts don't line up as well as they should be. But that's where this, you know, tool chest shows it's different from, you know, a Snap-on or a Craftsman. Is, you know, when you gotta assemble it, you'll see that it's made in China, and some of the things don't line up like they should. But, I mean, you only have to assemble it once. Other than that, I mean, it really went well together. It feels like a solid tool chest, and I like just, you know, the way the doors feel, or the drawers. Very nice and smooth slider, and they have these locking mechanisms here on the side. And if the lid's closed, none of the drawers will slide out, even if you try and undo the locking mechanism. You get 4 sets of keys with this, so that's really nice. It's a specially shaped key. And all the drawers come lined with this kind of like rubber padding, so it comes already with a liner in it, so that's nice as well. I think that pretty much concludes this little video here on the unboxing, assembly, and overview of the US General 5-drawer tool cart / tool chest. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you are looking to possibly buy one of these or looking to try and assemble yours and the directions haven't helped you very much. So I hope you guys enjoyed some of those assembly tips that you can learn from me when I learned the hard way. But that's pretty much going to do it. If you guys have any questions or comments about this tool chest in general or the assembly of it, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So thanks again, guys. If you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing for more content on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.